hey, if you're a US citizen and you want to protect your retirement and you haven't got our free ebook yet, then you're really missing out. So click on the link in the description and find out how you can secure your retirement and your future today.
Hi guys, great to see you guys. Adam and James here. I'm actually over in the Middle East at the moment in Dubai, so hence the different backdrop. But this is actually a very, very important show that we're putting out today about taking control of your finances. There's news that we're about to share that we should wake everybody up. JP Morgan this weekend. JP Morgan, one of the largest banks in the world, bar none, is filing for bankruptcy.
Wow.
And if that doesn't wake you up, nothing will. When one of the largest banks in the world files for bankruptcy with fiat currency, let me add that in, and I'm going to come on to that in a bit, people need to wake up. We've seen a lot of banks collapse. People go, well, that's not my bank, that's not my bank. When JP Morgan filed for bankruptcy this weekend, it affects everybody. So welcome, guys. Good to see you, Adam. Good to see you, James.
Yeah, good to see you, Charlie.
It's always good, Charlie, lad. Always good.
Exactly.
But, I mean, before we get into it all, anyway, I'm going to say this now, get it out of the way, as we always do. Before Adam asked me to do it, whenever we go through now, we're not financial advisors. We're just going to share information with you, which you should know. You know, a lot of this information that we share, you're just not told, you're not made aware of. So that's our job, to make you aware, isn't it, Adam and Charlie? That's exactly what we do. And you can take it and run with it or leave it. It's totally up to you. It's your choice. We're not here to convince you of anything. We're just here to share information. Take it or leave it. We're here to help you if you want helping. Okay, so that's me.
Yeah.
You could even add the fact that this is for entertainment purposes only, because it's very entertaining when you watch people lose all of their money.
Oh, you know, it's...
I mean, look,
the things going on.
We really wish that people do their own research and take note of what we're saying, because there are things that you can do. And I think that's the whole thing, is it's about not just knowing the information, it's about doing something with it. And I think that's the bit where people often struggle. A lot of people freeze, I think. They don't know what to do. So hopefully we can give some direction, plant some seeds and just get people started on the journey.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, look, go ahead, John.
The important thing is I made my choices. I made my choices 3 years ago. Now, you can say to me, it was too early. But as I've said many times, I'd rather be 3 years early than 1 day late.
Yeah.
And the most important thing is take control of your own financial position, your own, and it changes your whole life when you are in control. There are people out there who don't want to be in control of their own life. That's your choice. That's your choice. I'm not going to knock you for that. But I'm going to say that I found a lot more peace and happiness when I took control of my life. Yes, it's more responsibility. I get that.
Yeah.
But leaving it to somebody else, I've been let down too many times. And I don't want to be let down again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've been there, I think, Charlie. I mean, I know I personally have been there many years ago. It's a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a bit much at first, or it can be, when you're just used to, you're used to relying on other people, aren't you? That's just,
Yeah,
you know, you're used
daunting.
to going, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for, daunting. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I've been there and done that. So, but when you do take the first step, when you do start going down this path, feels good. It really does. And it doesn't take that much to get started.
No.
And you know what we did at the beginning? We just got started. And then we learned on the way, on that path. While we were on that journey, we just learned and we just kept expanding and evolving, just gaining that knowledge. And then putting it to action, that's the key point. I've heard that saying before, time and time again, knowledge is power. It is, but there's no point in having it unless you take action with that knowledge.
Yeah.
Knowledge is only power if you take action. So
yeah. Great. Well, look, let's give you some steps today. We want to, as beginning of 2024, it's often a time when people reassess and they look towards the future and they have New Year's resolutions and all this kind of thing. We just want to really encourage people to make 2024 the year that they really take hold of their finances and really take some actionable steps. So we've put a bit of a plan together that hopefully will cover most people's situations. And it will just give you something to work towards. Because I think often people go, I don't even know where to start. They've got all this enthusiasm, but not a real plan. So we'll give you a plan, and you can action those steps and personalize it to yourself. So let me share this with you. The first thing that you need to do before you go on this journey and build your financial house is you need to work out where you are. Where are you currently? There's no point shooting for the stars if you're not in a position to do that. And by that, and this is the boring bit, but you need to get the boring bit done. It's necessary. You need to work out what's coming in, what's going out, expenses. And the way we would say that for expenses, take 3 months worth of bank statements and just have a look what you're spending. Often, me and James have talked about this quite a bit. Often there's things that you're spending a big percentage of your income on, and you didn't realize it. You didn't intentionally do that. So, for example, you might be spending a lot more than you think on eating out or on certain elements. You know, it's very easy with Amazon. It stores your card details. They deliver the next day. Very easy to order a lot from Amazon. But just have a look. Is that what you want to be doing?
Most likely you would be surprised. We used to put financial plans together for families. We used to put, it was on a daily basis. And I don't think I ever sat with a family. I don't think I ever sat with a family that ever said, oh, yeah, that's what we spend. They were always shocked. So it's something every person should do. Every family should do. Should sit down and evaluate what they're spending. Especially
if there's two incomes and two outgoings, you're not always aware what the other person's spending. Or it's just good to do it collectively. The next thing to do is to look at your assets, maybe your retirement, like your 401k or your pension, and have a look, get a forecast of what that's going to look like. Then have a look at all your liabilities, your debts. What do you owe? And have a real look at your situation. And some people might do that and say, oh, I'm in a better position than I thought. Some people might say, well, I'm actually in a worse position than I thought. But at least you're at a position you can do something about it. You know where you are. And from there, we would say, do a few extra bits. Look at what is spare or what can be spare. So if you say, oh, I'm actually spending X amount on takeaways or eating out or whatever, and I can rein that in, what can be spare, add that to that. Also, make a note of your debt freedom date. At what date, if you currently run things as they are, what date will you be debt free? Because that's a really important metric to track. And also look at your current retirement position. What if you carry on doing what you're doing now? What will retirement look like for you right now? And maybe ask questions of those metrics and say, well, are you happy with that? Are you happy to be debt free at this date? And are you happy with the current position of your retirement? So that's the first step. The second step, and that's kind of the boring stuff out of the way. The second step is to dream a little bit and work out where you want to go. What are your goals? What are your financial goals? Where do you want to see? Where do you see yourself in, at retirement or even in 5 years? And make it compelling. Make it something that excites you. And then from there, make 2 sets of plans. Have 2 sets of goals. One is, say, a goal that's a bit further away, say 5 years, but then break that down into monthly for this year. Because what often happens is our brains are not great with really big goals that are really far away. It just doesn't mean that much to us. It's really difficult to do something with it. But if you have a big goal that then you break down, let's say, for example, in a year's time, you want to run a marathon, you know what you need to do to train for that marathon. You break it down. And that's the next step. Make a plan with actionable and measurable steps. So, if you were planning a long journey, you'd know how long you're going to drive before you need to refuel. And you'd know which routes you're going to take, and you'd have a plan. And it's no different with your finances, your financial goals. Have a plan of how you're going to get there. Make it actionable and measurable. Okay, so these 3 steps here are what everybody can do, regardless of what position you are currently in. We would say the earlier you do this, the earlier you make changes, the better. That's how interest on debt works, and how interest on investments works. The more time, the earlier you change them, the more time they've got to go up or to go down. So those 3 steps are the first. Here's some extra things that we think you should look at alongside that. Protecting yourself. So look, no one likes talking about insurance. It's a pretty dry topic. It's not something that really excites many people. But let's say you've got this financial plan. It is totally reliant on you, and maybe you and one other's income and your ability to work and to actually fund this whole plan. We think it's worth ensuring your ability to work. So whether that be having life cover, meaning that your family are still looked after when you're not able to work, or whether it's something like serious or critical illness cover. You know, people do get ill, although we don't like to talk about it. People get ill, and something in place to just cover that time when you're not able to fund these goals. Also, a good point to make here is trusts and wills, making sure that what you're working so flipping hard for goes to where you want it to go to, should the worst happen. Again, very dry and boring topics, but very necessary. And it just
But it's vital while you're on that journey, isn't it, Adam, to just cover all bases. If something was to happen to me or my wife or whatever, the house is still paid off, the debts are gone or whatever, you know, the worst case scenario that everything's covered gives you peace of mind, you know. It doesn't have to cost you a lot of money.
If you think about it, if you've got 2 incomes working towards one plan and paying off all these debts, you know, if you've got mortgage and things like that, if one person's income is taken out of the equation, not only are they grieving for the lost person, but it's one income and all of the same debts and the mortgage. So the pressure just really mounts onto that one individual. So we just think, look, do what you can to mitigate that.
There's one point there.
Yes,
very
go ahead.
Interesting listening to you there. My grandfather, God rest his soul, died many, many years ago, but he went through his life and he had a plan. My father didn't have the same plan, and I started off life without a plan. We're going through the full circle now. We've gone through 25, 30, 40, 50 years where we've let other people control our plan. We haven't had our own plan. We need to get back to where our grandparents were, who had a plan.
Yes.
And we've been sort of educated, brainwashed, indoctrinated with a narrative that we need to leave all that up to the government. Well, they've let us down.
Yeah.
The government have let us down. Big pharma, big tech, everyone has let us down. But it's a very, very hard lesson to learn that we actually have to have a plan. We need to learn to look after ourselves instead of leaving it up to somebody else.
I would say
that's key, Charlie. If you don't have a plan, someone else is going to have a plan for you. It's as simple as that. Especially like we talk about trusts and wills. If you haven't got if you haven't got a will, the government's got one for you. They've got a plan for your money and your finances. You know,
we found that out many years ago, didn't we, James? About if you don't. People say, "Oh, I don't have a will," and we say, "You do." The government's actually got one for you, and they dictate where everything goes. Which, we can go down that rabbit hole. But I think that's totally right, Charlie. And I would say that is probably the most important. But if we could sum it all up, that would be it. If you don't have a plan, you'll end up working for someone else's plan. So put your own plan in place for sure.
The other thing that's important, and this is just what I've learned in my life. This isn't financial advice, but this is what I've learned. I know that I will die. I know that. So knowing that, I've already moved my assets in my life already into place. They're not in my name anymore. They're already moved on. There is only very, very small amount in my name already. So that whether it be property in somebody else's name, in physical gold and physical silver, it's not in my name anyway. It's in a safe. Of course it is. I have access to it, and the right people have access to it. And we've always been told that we should, leave it up to them, leave it up to them. They're the last people I'd leave it up to. And I certainly wouldn't be, there was a period in time where the government was saying, oh, you have to tell us what gold you've got, where you've got it. Sorry, I don't trust you.
Yeah.
And all these demands, they go completely against the Constitution. They go completely against the Bill of Rights. They go completely against God's will. And they've just come in with these ideas. They're corrupt, and we need to stand up against them. There's only a very small percentage of the world that are this group of people. They're less than 1%. We are in the majority of 99%. We just need to come together, stand up, and look after ourselves. You're absolutely right. If you don't, somebody else will.
Yeah. The funny thing is, Charlie, as well, all these governments that are telling you, asking you, oh, you need to do this and you need to tell us this, they're all protecting their own backsides, and they know how to work the system and make sure that, when they pass on, all their assets are covered and they're not in their name. So why shouldn't we?
Yeah. Well, look at Margaret Thatcher's estate when she passed. Yeah. If anybody wants to ever research that, look at that and just see what,
Yeah.
I don't think there was any taxes paid on that, was there? Anything, or just and where the wealth went and what have you, and where it passed on to. But just do your own research on it, and you'll soon find out. We're just trying to pass on information that the elites already know. Exactly. Normal people like you and us, we're not told this. We're not taught this. Imagine if this was taught in school, where everybody would be. But it's not in their interest, is it?
No. So we think, look, protect yourself. There's things that life happens, bumps in the road. Just be aware of them, plan for them. The next thing is carry a spare tire. And what we mean by that is an emergency fund. Now, that could be, for example, 3 months worth of expenses, or 6 months, or 3 to 6. It's not necessarily, it has to be exactly this or the way that we do it, but have something so that, again, if anything was to happen, you can cover any of those bumps in the road and you can absorb them, and your plan still continues. It doesn't send you off course and set you back, 2 or 3 years. So spare tire, emergency fund, it's not sexy, it's very boring, but it'll save you backside. And here's what we would say to do. We've done videos on this, and there's online calculators that people can use. But from your debt freedom date and looking at the way that you're currently paying down debts, look at how you can accelerate out of those debts. The way that the lender of any debt tells you how to pay and the frequency of how to pay your debts benefits them the most. Be aware of that. They're not on your side.
Yeah.
So if you can educate yourself on how to pay these debts down quicker by being smart, then you can accelerate out of debt. It puts less money in their pocket, so they're not likely to tell you, more money in your pocket, and it means that you get your debts down far, far quicker. Remember, when you're paying debts of any kind, you're sending money into your past. If it's a car loan, you've already received the car, so you already have the item. You're paying backwards for something you already have. And there's no, from our point of view, there's no judgment on debts. We just want to give you the tools on how to accelerate out of them as quick as possible. So you can snowball out of them, and that'll make a huge impact. The other thing that people don't always consider as debt, and it's often people's biggest debt, is their mortgage. And accelerating out of your mortgage, you would do that in a particular way. Again, there's mortgage calculators online. You can pay it weekly, every 2 weeks, something like that. And that can accelerate you out of your mortgage. Again, it's taking money out of the bank's pocket, the lender's pocket, and putting it into your pocket. The earlier you do any of this, the better, the bigger impact that you can have. And especially with interest rates being high at the moment, you can make a real big impact on any mortgage and debts. And then finally, some people might say, well, look, I don't have any debts, or I've managed to pay them off, or they're not that big. Then great, you can miss those steps out, but something that everybody should be doing and working towards is building your assets. And building your assets, like debt is paying money into your past, building assets is sending money into your future, so that when you get there, there is something for you to live off and something for you to have. Like you said, Charlie, you know, as humans, we die. That's part of it. And often when we get into later in life, illness can crop up, and we might be at a point where we don't want to work or we can't work. And the income that we have relied on to make this plan happen is not there anymore. So building up your assets so there's something in the future when maybe you don't want to work or you can't work gives you again that peace of mind that you can live your life, you can run your lifestyle uninterrupted because you've planned and built something for yours and your family's future. So
it's so important for people to think this way, though, Adam, isn't it? So that's what we're trying to instill into families, you know, into your children. I mean, I'm teaching my little boy already. I'm trying to, just a little bit by bit. It's so important to be able to plan for this, and not. I mean, we've spoken to families time and time again where they're in later life and they're still paying into the past.
Yeah,
they've got nothing to pay into the future. They've got nothing. They've not got a bean. And families that have retired, but then they've had to go back to work because they can't afford to retire. They realise they can't afford to retire. Yeah. So, you know, the sooner you start doing any of this that we teach, the better. It's not a way to. It's get started as soon as possible, isn't it? The only wrong time is tomorrow. You know.
When you talk about building assets, it's the same as building a house. The first part is to start digging and laying the foundations. Nobody will ever see those in the future.
Yeah.
It's part of being a foundation, and you need to get your foundation solid so that as you start to build, it stays secure, it stays safe. The hard bit is digging the foundations. Make no bones about it. With building a house, it's no different. The hardest part is building the foundations, breaking the earth and digging and putting down the foundations of your financial future. That's the hard bit. It's not easy. It's hard. Just
on that, Charlie, you're also, to start with, building the wrong way, aren't you? The opposite way.
Yeah.
You're building down. You want to build up, but before you build up, you've got to build down.
Of course you have. You have to put the foundation to start with. And if you want to build a big fortune, the foundations need to be reinforced.
Yeah.
So, good point.
Nothing comes easy in life. You have to work at it. There's a lot of people out there who say, well, I don't have the money to do that. Well, you don't, because one thing, there's always an excuse. There's always a reason. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, the billionaires in this world, they don't have 3 legs. They don't have 3 arms. They don't have 2 heads. They don't have 3 eyes. They don't have 2 noses. They're exactly the same as you. The only thing that's different is their mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll give you an example. If you surround yourself by successful people, you will become successful over the next few years. And if you surround yourself with people who are flat broke, you will become flat broke. Surround yourselves with the right people. If you want to come up, surround yourself with people who are on the way up or already up. That's how you get there.
Yes.
We've seen this time and time again, Adam, haven't we? We've seen it time and time again.
We just encourage people, look, people have probably heard this before, they've considered doing it before, but just make 2024 the year that you actually do it. Be really intentional and just the hardest and most boring step is the first one. Because you have to look at everything in the cold light of day and look exactly where you are. But from there, you can be honest, empowered. Yeah, you can be empowered to do the other changes, do the other steps, and it actually gets nice from there because you start to see progress, and that encourages you and spurs you on. So we just want to encourage people, do it. Don't just look at this and say, oh, some good information, maybe it was a little bit entertaining. Actually take the steps, watch it again, write the steps down, and action them, put a date on them and do them.
Well, thank you, guys. That's been very, very constructive. And this is where we're sharing our experiences. This isn't advice, as James has told you. This is just sharing our own experiences that have helped us get out of the shit. Excuse my language. Take control of your own destiny. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
Hey, see ya. Thank you.
Cheers.